How well can a 9mm penetrate with Dan the Wolfman? And what I have today is some ammo he sent to me. He sent me some Winchester 1152s. And what that is that's the service grade ammo that was developed basically in this pistol for the Army, for the military. And it's a flat nose 115 grain bullet rated at 1320 feet per second. So that is a very fast rating. Now I said for this pistol, and this was actually one of the ones that went into contest to try to be one of the military pistols. Military actually selected the SIG, but this has all the parameters they were looking for, the 5-inch barrel and all of that. So I want to test this 9mm ammo in my big dangerous game ballistic test here. So I'm going to run it through that 5-inch barrel here, Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0, and I'm going to test it in this 3.2-inch Taurus G2C. And I want to compare that to something that is really meant for penetrating, something with a lot of power, and we'll see how that compares. So I have some Extreme Penetrator, Underwood Extreme Penetrator in 357 Magnum. So those are a 140 grain. Those are really meant to penetrate. So I'm going to run it through our 4-inch barrel and our 2-inch barrel to see what we get. And by the way, Dan the Wolfman has the highest rating combative instructional on BJJ Fanatics. So check that out if you're into that type of thing. So what I'm going to do here today is my big dangerous game ballistic pack test here. And I have a whole bunch of clear ballistics. It's actually 51 inches of clear ballistics. In the past, I've been using a 6-inch piece here of clear ballistics before I hit my rib simulation. I'm just going to do 3 inches today. And I am going to go right over the chronograph into that because I don't have a lot of those rounds. And we'll see if I can get a read of velocity as it goes into this ballistic gel pack here. So we have a thick layer of carpet that's like animal hide. We have 3 inches of clear ballistics. And then instead of my 1/4-inch medium density fiberboard, I have actually 2 of them. So a 1/2-inch medium density fiberboard and some more clear ballistics. So we have a potential to penetrate 51 inches as well as that 1/2-inch MDF. So we'll see how that 357 compares to that 9mm. We'll see if that 9mm really penetrates really well. And that's the thing, you know, 9mm or any bullet really, when you make it a flat nose, it actually penetrates better than typical. Sometimes you hear weird stories of like a bullet entered someone's neck and it came out their back or something weird like that. And that's because with round nose bullets, they tend to tumble, or any deformation in that nose, it'll go kind of weird directions. A flat nose really keeps that bullet straight. So that's kind of the secret behind that. So 115 grain rated at 1320 feet per second is pretty fast. And then after my ballistic test, I am going to shoot some at steel to see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. So let's get started with this test. All right, so I hope to get a velocity read with these, but first up I'm going to try our 357 mag. This thing was meant for penetrating. If I don't get a velocity read, in the past I did average 13-15 feet per second through this 4-inch barrel. So that's about an average power to 357 mag. So let's see how our 357 mag does through our big dangerous game pack here. $13.50. Let's try our 9mm now. All right, 9mm. It's just 9mm. I don't know what to expect with this, to be honest. But you know, theoretically it should penetrate pretty well. So let's see what we get with our 9mm and our full size gun with the 5-inch barrel here. 1342, almost the same velocity, but a little bit lighter bullet. Let's take a look at that. All right, so our 9mm penetrated more. Almost looks like it did more damage. Now, our 357 mag is a much longer bullet, not just because it's 140 grain versus 115, but because it's solid copper. Copper is less dense than lead, so if it were actually a lead core, it'd be shorter. So what we're seeing there with it being so long is that we did seem to get tumbling up here. So after going through all of that, including our 1/2-inch medium density fiberboard, and 357 Extreme Penetrator, made for this, went to about 23.5 inches. Our 9mm, it's just 9mm, touched this second block here. So that's about 35 inches of penetration with our 9mm. So our 9mm did a good foot more Then a 357 mag extreme penetrator. That's pretty impressive. Let's try our short barrels now. All right, short barrels, 357 mag in this little snub here. Let's see what this does. $12.74. All right, that's a really weird trajectory going on in there with that. So here's our 9mm. See what this does. $12.22, again, about the same velocity. Let's go take a look at that. I think I intersected a path there with our 357, so let me run one more. 1174. All right, so I had to do that because that first shot there, I actually went through the same MDF hole as that 357 mag. That completely invalidates it because, you know, we're not getting that MDF resistance. So, let me try to pull this out. Here, take a look at it. So yeah, it's hard to tell. It looks like maybe I did hit my own new hole here, but still, I'm not sure. So I'll just take a look at both of those, sir, because I think the first one was valid. But the first thing we're seeing here is a massive energy dump right here with our 357 mag, and it's probably because it's tumbling right away. It's like it tumbled and tilted and this went some weird direction. And what we have here is only a penetration of about 18 3/4. You know, in my experience, the MDF takes away a 1/4 inch, takes away maybe 2 inches. So, you know, without the MDF, we might have 4 inches more than that, which is not very impressive for something called extreme penetrator. Now with our 9mm on our short barrel, this is really impressive. Our second shot got a penetration of 32 inches. But our first shot here, which did go through its own MDF, it's beyond this marker here, but if I had to guess how much further that is, let me get the tape out. So after 36 inches, we went about another 1.75 inches. Sometimes this, when you come to the sides of this camera lens versus the center, it skews it. Looks like a different number than what I'm pointing out, but yeah, another 1.75 inches. So that's 37 3/4 inches penetration, which is very impressive for a 9mm. Now, can I say that this would do the exact same thing on a mammalian attacker? I have no idea. And how much do you really need? Again, I have no idea. The damage seems greater in some regard with our 357 mag from tumbling. That being said, producing a lot of damage inside a dangerous animal right away versus actually going deep enough, those are two different things. So I'm just going to say reliably what we're seeing here is our 9mm is doing better. Very good penetrator. So let me shoot at my steel, see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. So here's our recovered bullet. This is with our full-size guns. Here's our shorter barrels, and we can see a difference here with this solid copper here in 357, whether it's through the 4-inch barrel or 2-inch barrel. There is no difference there in any deformation. It's really solid. Now with our 9mm, because these are soft lead cores, we do see some difference. So here's our 5-inch barrel. Here is our 3.2-inch barrel with our first shot. Here's our second shot with our 3.2-inch barrel. These bullets have kind of a weird design on the bottom there. It's got a very big scoop in that. So 5-inch barrel. Look at 3.2, you can actually see a lot more deformation of that bullet with our 5-inch barrel. But interestingly enough, our second shot with our 3.2-inch barrel actually had less velocity in our first shot, but yet it's deformed a little more. But this just goes to show, you know, it's right at that level of, you know, with 9mm has just enough power to punch through really deep, but just backed off to that point where it's not enough to really flatten the bullet. Now, if this were at 357 mag power levels, this bullet would probably mushroom out to 45 caliber. But being just backed off enough with that flat nose, you get kind of the best of both worlds, where you just get that tiny amount of mushrooming, but yet it penetrates deep. That's where we don't get any change with our solid copper bullets. All right, 75 yards from the target. This is more of animal type defense ammo, or maybe hunting ammo. It's good to make 2 holes rather than 1 if you're trying to cause a deer to bleed out or something like that, or something's charging you that's really big that can cover that distance. And I like to shoot from 75 yards also, just because it's fun and it's a challenge. I constantly, still to this day, I'm talking today, had people get on my channel before I came out to film and say, "Why are you training at 75 yards, the average distance 7? You're a murderer." Like, going on and on about the fact that I'm shooting a target. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to pull down that silhouette of a man, put up a deer or something like that just to make it seem more legit. You know, that's my target. So this is just for fun and just to kind of see what the accuracy is with these. So I'm curious about what I might get here. And again, my camera, the angles of it are kind of weird because the camera is not the same elevation as the target. It skews everything a little bit. That's why the top of the hill is a good 30 feet from the top of the target. You look on the downrange camera, it's not, it's like touching it. It skews a lot of things. So a lot of times I'll make shots that are perfectly centered but low, but it'll actually look like I've shot to the left and high. It's really weird. So let's see what I can do with my 357 here. I'm just going to do long barrels with this. It's pretty hard. All right, I had just 5 rounds of that, and that hits hard enough. And the recoil on that isn't too bad in a full-size revolver. So 9mm M1152s. Let's see how this shoots. Very fast. All right, very accurate. Looks like some might be impacting a little bit low. This is not much of a challenge. Let me back it up to 100 yards just to see if I can make any hits at 100. All right, 100 yards from the target, you might not even be able to see that silhouette from here. The reason why I don't shoot from here is, you know, there's a tree here. I need to cut it down. It's a little sapling. But it really provides a lot of challenge here because I have to aim through these little leaves or I have to lower my hold here a little bit. So they looked like they're impacting a little bit low at that distance. And surprisingly, this little extra distance makes things almost twice as hard. So I'm gonna have to aim a little bit high silhouette on the silhouette on this. Let me see if I can make a hit. See, that's the challenge. There we go. Looks like it may have hit a little bit high. That could just be me, because at this distance it goes from, you know, the sight covering 2/3 of the target at 75 yards to now the front sight is larger than the silhouette. So I do have to aim, let me aim just center mass. Pull that one a little too fast. Huh. All right, at least I got that last one. So this is where it starts to become really, really challenging. But the fact that I had to come back to 100 to get a challenge because 75 is hitting so accurately, that says a lot about that ammo. So what I'm gonna say about this is, wow, that's some pretty good 9mm ammo. Now, this ammo in 357 that's designed for penetrating, extreme penetrator, it's really gimmicky, in my opinion. I've tested hard cast against that and done better. Hard cast does pretty similar to what this 9mm did, but I think actually goes a little bit less deep because hard cast, even though it's hard cast, it's still lead. You know, our Britnell hardness of a solid copper is like 30, pure lead is like 5, typical bullets are like 10, 12. Hard cast is like a Britnell of 15 to 20. It's still much closer to pure lead than what it is to copper, so it smushes even against like bone and whatnot. So having a jacketed bullet, like a flat nose jacketed, that's similar to a hard cast in a lot of ways, because the shell, the jacket is harder than hard cast lead, but the center is softer. But what we're seeing here though, and this is why 9mm is so special when it comes to something like this, is a lot of other cartridges are a little bit more power. Even on jacketed bullets, what you'll get is deformation of that bullet. 9mm is in that range where it's just, you know, 400 and some foot-pounds when it's through a 5-inch barrel. It's just enough that it's going to penetrate as far as you can, but just backed off enough in the power that it's not going to deform much. So it does a very good job at penetrating. And then when you put a flat nose on it, you know, you're not going to damage one side or the other. It flatten one side or the other, but like a round nose, which will cause it to start to arc down and not penetrate. It's going to keep going forward in a very deep penetrating trajectory. So what I'm going to say overall, and this is really a review of the 9mm ammo, not the 357, but the 357, it's accurate enough, it's powerful enough, it's pretty good, but we're seeing it's kind of gimmicky. With something like this full-size pistol, even in that 3.2-inch pistol, what we're seeing is we had really good penetration. And that's something that's good to know, because there's even people in Alaska that take grizzly bears in a defensive situation with 9mm, and a lot of people think that like people in Alaska are just, you know, they're cowboys or something, or they're Eskimos and they're carrying weird single action revolvers, but a lot of them are just city folks that live in the big cities. They have 9mm, they have constitutional carry up there, they're going to go in the woods, they're just going to take a 9mm with them because that's what they have. So it's good to have this information that you could take that 1152 ammo, which is practice ammo pretty much, and you're going to have a better than average chance against a big animal that's trying to attack you versus having maybe just regular full metal jacket ammo. So overall, I'm going to say it's pretty good ammo. I think it punched through hard barriers better than a lot. I'll have to buy some more and do some testing with that, because I think it would do a pretty good job at that as well, because the velocity is really high, flat nose, very short bullet, so there's very little resistance with a 115 grain. It's should punch right through stuff. So again, thank you to Dan the Wolfman for sending this ammo. It was pretty fun to test this stuff and see how good it really is. It really is a very good penetrating round. It's going to over penetrate for typical self-defense, but if you had to punch through something hard or stop a big animal, it's going to do the job well. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.